Here is an article by the National Geographic, the November 2014 issue, and the title of it is America's Appetite for Meat Bad for the Planet? And the answer, according to the article, is it's unclear. If the question was, is meat bad for me personally, the answer is probably, but there's some doubt there also. Let me read some quotes from the first page of the article. Meat is murder. Meat, especially beef, is cigarettes and a Hummer rolled into one. For the sake of the animals, our own health, and the health of the planet, we must eat less of it. And here's a quote from the other side of that argument. Meat is delicious. Meat is nutritious. Global demand is soaring for good reason, and we must find a way to produce more of it. In short, meat, especially beef, has become the stuff of fierce debate. So on the opposite side of the article, carnivore's dilemma. So what are we to do? Is it unhealthy, nutritious, cruel, delicious, or unsustainable? As you can see from this slide, it takes a whole lot more land to raise beef than it does dairy, pork, poultry, or eggs. Land accounts for 90% of the land used for raising livestock. In this slide, we see that the need for feed for pork is exceeded by beef by about 3 times. In other words, you need a whole lot more feed for cattle than you do for pork. In this slide, we see that it takes more water to grow a pound of beef than it does other alternatives. Irrigating land for cattle uses 3 times the amount of water compared to all other foods combined. In this slide, we see that beef emits more gases than other animals. Greenhouse gases from cattle represent about 40% of the methane, or it is about 40% of methane. In 1976, the United States consumed 91.5 pounds of beef per capita. In 2013, that per capita number was down to 54%, which was about the same as 100 years ago. So in 2013, we eat twice as much chicken as we did in 1976, and about 6 times as much as we did 100 years ago. Now we eat 8 billion chickens versus 33 million cattle. There has been a productivity or technological success in this. In 1976 to now, we produce 13 million tons with 10 million fewer cattle from a herd that's 40 million head smaller, or 23% more meat per animal. In other words, it's been a technological powerhouse. Some people would say it's wasteful to feed grain to cattle. In 1971, there was a book called Diet for a Small Planet. And if we look at the percent of grain harvest consumed by all animals, in 1971 it was 81%, and today it's 42%. In other words, yields have soared. The grain going to ethanol represents 36%, whereas the grain going to cattle only represent 10%. And then the question was asked in the article, what would happen if the developed world cut its consumption of all meat by half? And the answer is a minimal amount of influence. I think the reason for that is the key grains in the world are wheat and rice. Here's a quote from the article. Feedlots, with their troubling use of pharmaceuticals, save land and lower greenhouse emissions. Latin American beef produces more than twice as many emissions per pound as its North American counterpart. The debate rages on. Still, eating beef represents eating at the top of the food pyramid. It consumes a lot of resources to grow and market 1 pound of beef. By the way, I'll have my New York strip medium rare. Thanks. Bye.